Hi, my name is Queen Duncan, and today I will be presenting on the research paper titled Drops for Stuff: An Analysis of Reshipping Mule Scams. I want to also take this time to acknowledge the authors and contributors to this paper: Kevin B., Manuel E., Michael E., Shuang H., Brian K., Nick N., Gianluca S., and Giovanni V. This paper was presented at the ACM Conference on Computer and Communication Security in October 2015 in Denver, Colorado. You can also find the paper at the URL below. Before I begin, I want to outline what this presentation entails. I will begin by introducing the root of reshipping scams, which stems from financial fraud and data breaches. I will detail examples of data breaches and other forms of attacks cybercriminals have used on the past to steal financial data and credit card information. Then I will discuss the monetization efforts of cybercriminals after they have exfiltrated the financial data they desire. I will then discuss the objectives of the paper to give you a better overview of the author's intentions and their goals. Then I will discuss background information and details of Reshipping Mule scams to give you a better understanding of this concept you may or may not have heard of. Then I will move into the author's detailed analysis of Reshipping Mule scams by discussing the data and common measures, business model, and losses and impacts of these scams. I will then discuss the intervention analysis presented by the authors for companies to intervene and disrupt the reshipping services. Lastly, I will wrap the presentation up with a conclusion. Let's begin with the introduction. Due to their convenience, online banking and electronic commerce have significantly grown in the past years. Individuals can buy goods and have them shipped to them and essentially eliminate the concept of in-person transactions with just a credit card and internet access. Cybercriminals desire the credit cards and financial account information used to make these transactions to profit off of them. Data breaches, phishing, and fraud have grown rampant and still affect millions of users on a yearly basis. Now, let's discuss example attacks of data breaches. In 2012, Adobe Systems, the software company, was breached and information of approximately 152 million customers was stolen. In late 2013, Target was breached and credit card and personal information of up to 110 million customers was also stolen. In addition, in September 2014, Home Depot, the hardware store, discovered that their point-of-sale systems were infected with custom-built malware that was used to steal credit card information of about 56 million customers. Also, hundreds of smaller businesses and regional companies are breached almost on a monthly basis. Now let's discuss other types of attacks. In addition to the many online breaches of companies storing various categories of financial data, cybercriminals have branched into the physical world by targeting the manufacturers of point of sale, also known as POS terminals, and infecting them with malware in order to, again, steal customer data. For example, in April 2015, Harbor Touch, a POS manufacturer, was attacked by cyber criminals who planted malware on their terminals which was then distributed to more than 4,200 businesses. And then finally, information stealing botnets and malware such as Zeus or Torpig are constantly used to steal credit card and financial account information. Despite the endless amounts of customer data cybercriminals can steal, it seems, the exfiltration of customer financial data is usually just the first stepping stone in a long series of transactions in the underground economy. Monetization of obtained credit card information is a difficult challenge that cybercriminals face. For example, directly withdrawing money using stolen credit cards is usually limited to small amounts due to the cash advance limit, and cybercriminals are at risk of exposing their true identities and locations to law enforcement, credit card companies, and banks. Since cybercriminals want to maximize their profit and avoid prosecution, they had to be strategic in how they convert the stolen financial data into cash value, which then gave birth to reshipping mule scams. Reshipping scams are an elaborate monetization scheme that has turned out to be successful for cybercriminals. In a reshipping scam, cybercriminals purchase high-value products with stolen credit cards and recruit willing and unsuspecting people, also called reshipping mules, to receive and forward the packages on their behalf. Once the criminals receive their packages, they then sell them on the black market for a cash profit. Now that we have covered the introduction and background information on financial schemes, I'll now cover the paper's objectives and the in-depth analysis of reshipping scams, which highlights what cybercriminals do after they have stolen customer credit cards and financial account information via data breaches, phishing, fraud, injected malware, and many other channels. The paper's objectives are to present the first in-depth, large-scale analysis of the operational logistics behind reshipping scams, based on log data collected from 7 reshipping scams. Identify the key components in reshipping scams and provide insights about their operations, including volume of packages, estimated revenue, volume and churn of mules and targeted merchants. Identify bottlenecks in the analyzed reshipping scams and propose intervention techniques that can be applied to attack and disrupt the reshipping chain. These techniques can reduce the criminal's profit, disincentivize reshipping scams as a monetization technique, and in turn, prevent further unsuspecting users from falling victim to these scams. So now let's understand a little bit more about these scams. Reshipping mule scams are the process of cybercriminals using stolen credit card and financial account information to purchase high-value products such as iPhones, laptops, cameras, and video game consoles. Receipt and reshipment of these items through middlemen, referred to as reshipping mules. Subsequently, reselling the counterfeit items on the black market for a cash profit at the cost of consumers, merchants, banks, and insurance companies. These reshipping scams have become one of the main methods for attackers to monetize stolen credit card information. There are also some advantages that come along with these reshipping schemes. It allows cyber criminals to purchase and sneak merchandise to countries that are not legitimate shipping destinations for a given product. The cyber criminals' true identities are concealed through mules serving as relying intermediaries. Cyber criminals' criminal operational locations are hidden. I also want to highlight that even though there are clear advantages for cyber criminals, keep in mind that this does have some disadvantages for the reshipping mules as accomplices to fraud. They end up with financial loss, sometimes suffer personal harm such as PTSD and depression, and also enter the crosshair of local and federal law enforcement. There are multiple players with these scams, and they each play a unique role. The operator is the manager over the operation and key to the reshipping mule scam. They essentially tie all the roles together through their role as the brains behind the operation. They operate and manage the reshipping scam websites where all the other key players utilize to communicate and complete shipping transactions. On the surface, the scam website mirror a legit website. The operators are also the driving force behind shipping mule recruitment and support to the cybercriminals. The stuffer is a cybercriminal who utilizes stolen credit cards to make purchases to be reshipped by mules. When the mules receive the packages, the stuffers provide them with prepaid shipping labels to be used to ship the packages to the stuffers. They manage the movement and reselling of the purchased products on the black market. They also actively rent mules from the reshipping scam websites. The shipping mule, also referred to as a drop, receives the purchased goods with stolen credit cards from the merchant and reships them to the stuffer. Usually, these individuals are searching for part-time or work-from-home opportunities. They initially and sometimes go into the operation thinking it is an actual legitimate business. Oftentimes, they are not paid and end up being scammed by the operators and stuffers. The card holder is the one whose credit and or financial account information is stolen via data breaches, phishing, fraud, and other criminal methods to be used by shippers to buy products which are then reshipped by drops to the shippers, all done via the operator's scam website. Last but not least, the merchant, such as Verizon, Apple, or Amazon, is the business who sells legitimate products to stuffers without knowing that the credit card used was stolen. Out of all the players, they suffer the most in liability and losses because they are robbed of the items, have paid for shipping, and oftentimes reimburse the unauthorized funds. Now, let's see how the players interact to complete the reshipping scam. I've laid out the step-by-step sequence. However, I will walk through this process utilizing an enlarged version of the image to the right. Step 1. The drop applies for a job on the seemingly legit reshipping scam website or a job post on a site such as Craigslist. The operator of the reshipping scam site actively hires drops via applicants from the job postings. Step 2. The stuffer obtains stolen financial information obtained via breaches, phishing, fraud, underground forums, or the black web. Step 3. The stuffer subscribes to the reshipping scam website to actively rent and access drops. Step 4. The stuffer purchases products from merchants utilizing the stolen credentials. Step 5. Merchants ship products to the address of the drop rented by the stuffer. Step 6. The drop receives the product from the merchant. The operator of the reshipping scam websites are also managing the relationship with the drop to ensure they go through with reshipping as well as any of the communication or inquiries the drop has. The stuffer also provides a shipping label to the drop through the reshipping scam websites. Step 7. The drop repackages them, applies a prepaid shipping label provided by the stuffer, and ships the item. Step 8. The stuffer receives the item, pays the operator of the scam website, and then resells the product on the black market for a cash profit. The drop usually remains active for about 30 days from the day the first package was received by the stuffer. Just as the drop should receive their first paycheck, the operator of the reshipping scam site abruptly shuts down all communication with the drop and never makes the promised payment, with the drop having no way of contacting the operator. Now that we've discussed and understand a little bit more about reshipping mule scams, let's review the author's analysis on the operation. The authors obtained comprehensive and detailed data sets on 7 reshipping scam websites and their operations, spanning from 2010 to 2015. The data was then polished and presented in this paper. I also would like to mention that due to potential investigations with law enforcement, all identifiable information was removed from the data by the authors before presenting it in this paper format. 6 data points were used during the analysis. These data points are time period, which is the time when all the scams were active and being utilized. Reshipping logs is the detailed information from the reshipping sites. The logs included timestamps, subsequent stuffers, information on exploited card holders, the drops rented for assignments, and tracking numbers for shipments. Prepaid shipping labels are purchased by stuffers to be provided to drops, which they then use to reship items to stuffers. Drop details are personal identifiable information of drops such as home address, passport information, driver's license information, employment records, and at times their social security numbers. Operators were able to obtain this type of information when drops applied for jobs via the postings. The application would usually request this type of information from the drops. Messages are communications between the operator, stuffer, and drops on the scam website. And last but not least, rules are the policies stuffers adhere to when they subscribe to the operator's site. The slide provides some of the data the authors researched. The chart at the top summarizes data from the 7 reshipping scam sites. Shipping A and E were in business the longest with an active reshipping scam site for approximately 1 year. They also had the most activity with about 1,800 and 11,000 messages back and forth respectively. Shipping C had the most drops with approximately 100 within their 9-month run, had the most reshipping numbers due to the high volume of reshipping logs. The image in the bottom left corner is an invoice for a purchase made by a stuffer for a PlayStation 4 console for $400. Usually to evade customs and law enforcement, stuffers significantly mark down the price of the item on the reshipment label to drops. The image in the bottom right corner is a reshipping label where the value of the item, which is the PlayStation 4, is noted as $90. The business model of the Reshipping Mule scams, as noted by the authors, centered around reshipping as a service. With this, the authors analyzed their business model and broke them into 3 different categories: agreement and profit split between criminals, product categories, and targeted merchants and allocation of drops to stuffers. We'll begin with agreement and profit split between criminals. Because it would subsequently be difficult for stuffers to monetize the stolen financial information they obtain, the reshipping scam sites make it feasible for them to make a cash profit in some way. Therefore, operators of these sites make the most profit within the reshipping mule scam operations. Regarding profit splitting, operators either take a percentage, usually at 40% and above, of high-value items such as MacBooks and iPhones, or they charge a flat fee of about $50 to $70, usually on low-value items such as clothes. Let's continue on with agreement and profit split between criminals. Operators provide drop support to stuffers. Stuffers are paid 15% of the value of the item to be reshipped if drops are not able to reship the item purchased. This includes the item being confiscated sometime during the shipment process. Drops being caught by law enforcement or if the drop goes rogue and does not end up shipping the item. Operators also provide stuffers with access to premium drops. This allows the stuffers to exclusively use one drop to help guarantee the profitability of the package being delivered to the stuffer. Operators also provide shipping labels to stuffers. They provide white label shipping services. This involves opening bank accounts in the names of drops in order to create legitimate accounts for shipping merchants in order to set up and ship goods at a cheaper rate. For instance, they can ship a 5-pound package to Russia via USPS for $51 in comparison to shipping it via another method for $72. All this is possible through a legitimate shipping account created using the drops information. The image on the screen details the shipping label costs of the reshipping sites A, D, and E. Shipping D has a pretty steady label cost, which can be inferred that some level of a fake shipping account was created in order to keep shipping label costs lower. Shipping A has a wide range of prepaid label costs, which can be inferred that a type of white glove service is not utilized. Through their research, the authors also found that each reshipping scam website specialized in a set of products. Some specialize in the reshipment of high-value items, while others specialize in low-value items, as mentioned before. As you can see in the image to the left, the sites reshipped a variety of goods. However, their main specialization sometimes remained in the area with the most reships. For instance, Shipping B specialized in fashion and apparel with 37% of its reshipped packages falling under this category. Shipping C specialized in Apple products with 57% of its reshipped packages falling under this category. Their research also showed that stuffers had favorite merchants they would frequently purchase items with stolen credit cards from. This could be due to several different reasons, but each stuffer had their own method of determining where and when to buy. Some sites had low detection rates of fraudulent charges. Some were slower to notify merchants of chargebacks. Some could have outdated technology on their websites. Some are a marketplace for other merchants such as Shop.com and Amazon. Shop.com was the most used merchant for stuffers at a rate of 26%, with Verizon coming in second at 14.86%. To access drops, the access to drops is also a major component of the reshipping scams business model. Operators of the sites list job postings in order to get applicants to unknowingly apply for this role since they are not aware that it is a scam operation. Operators seek to maximize successful reships for the stuffers by strictly managing and controlling the pool of drops. They analyze rates of each drop and provide stuffers with exclusive access to drops. The image on the screen details the drop allocations for each stuffer as well as the number of products per the stuffer and drop combination. The white circles on the bottom indicate drops and the black circles on the left represent stuffers. The gray area to the left signifies exclusive drops. The authors also found that there is a substantial amount of financial loss and negative impacts to victims as a result of these Reshipping Mule scams. The victims in these scams include cardholders, drops, merchants, and the destination countries. Cardholders have their information stolen and receive unauthorized credit card charges, which they in turn must dispute and provide that it was not them that made the purchases. They usually fall victims multiple times and must go through the process of disputing charges and ordering new cards. Drops apply for job postings and provide their personal information with the idea of seeking part-time or work-from-home opportunities. Yet, the personal information they provide in order to apply for jobs is compromised and used to open bank accounts. They end up being scammed and not paid for their services for reshipping items, they also end up in the crosshairs of law enforcement, local and federal, due to their involvement of the fraudulent activities. Merchants end up shipping the products fraudulently purchased with credit cards. They end up eating the cost of chargebacks from payment processors as well as the cost of the product, which they often never get back, and sometimes the shipping cost of sending the product to the address of the drop. Destination countries experience a loss in custom duties and tax income from the shipment of goods to their country. They essentially never receive their earnings due to drops reshipping products via a prepaid label. There are also significant losses and damages. The revenue from these sites range from 1.8 million to 7.3 million US dollars per scam operation. The average financial loss to cardholders was 1,156 US dollars, which totals to over $4.5 million in damages to cardholders with stolen information over a 5-year span. The image highlights the number of packages that were shipped in support of the enormous amounts of revenue these reshipping scams profited from. Shipping A shipped the most packages per day with a little over 10,000 packages reshipped by day 200. This can be inferred that they were the most profitable out of the 7 scam sites analyzed. Shipping F can be inferred as not being as profitable as they were only able to reship less than 2,000 packages and were only operable for about 50 days. In total, typical scam sites send 1,000 to 10,000 packages over its operating life cycle. We'll now review the approaches to intervene and disrupt reshipping scam services presented by the authors. Suspicious packages had a higher rate of being detected by analyzing where, when, and how the tracking information found on the prepaid labels is being accessed. Browser user agents, which is essentially a way for a browser to say, "Hi, I'm Mozilla Firefox on Windows," can be used to provide information into browsers utilized by stuffers. Timestamps and time zone data can also be used to analyze and provide information on when tracking sites are visited. Also, information on IP addresses can give insight on where the stuffer accessing tracking information is located. Let's now review how suspicious packages can be identified through label purchases and reshipping destinations. A risk score can be utilized for all product purchases and shipping labels by shipping companies. This will work by applying a risk score to shipping accounts based on their habits of shipping and original shipping location, and accounts with higher risk scores can have their packages delayed and investigated more closely to ensure that they are not fraudulent. For instance, higher risk scores can be assigned to a single account that constantly ships multiple labels to multiple addresses. Or if a single destination constantly receives multiple packages from various accounts. This will help shipping companies identify shipping label accounts who are frequently involved in fraudulent activities. Another intervention analysis method would be for merchants to analyze and identify patterns with international shipping destinations for trends to be detected and for inspection methods to be more efficient. The image on the right highlights the destination of reshipped packages. It is evident that the primary destinations are in or around Moscow, Russia. Since this trend is very telling, a result of analyzing this pattern would be to inspect packages heading to these destinations more diligently. In conclusion, the authors through their research were able to highlight the root precursors of background and analysis of reshipping mule scams. They also were able to provide techniques that can be utilized by merchants and shipping companies to help intervene to reduce criminals' profit, disincentivize reshipping scams, and cripple these scams and prevent others from falling victims. Hope you have thoroughly enjoyed this presentation, and please feel free to interact with me on Piazza. Thank you.